The wind howled across the icy surface of Thalos 7, a small frozen moon far from any warm sun. Snow fell endlessly, and sharp crystals of ice blew like knives across the landscape. Nothing lived here. At least, nothing should. Jack Carter, human engineer, stood alone near a half-buried metal drone. He wiped frost off his visor and tapped the side of his helmet. "Base, this is Jack," he said through the radio. "Drone number 14 is found. Damaged but repairable. I'll need 2 hours." Only static replied. "Figures," Jack muttered. "Signal's dead again." He knelt beside the drone and began removing ice from the joints. His hands were steady, even though the cold bit deep through his gloves. Jack had worked in worse places before, but something about this moon felt strange. Quiet. Too quiet. Suddenly, his ears caught something. A sound. He froze. He turned his head slowly, listening. There it was again. Faint. Like a whisper carried on the wind. It didn't sound like wind, though. It sounded like a cry. Jack stood up fast, scanning the area. His boots crunched in the snow as he moved toward the sound. It came from a ridge nearby. He climbed carefully, every step slow and cautious. At the top of the ridge, he saw a narrow crack in the ice, just big enough to crawl through. The sound came from inside. Jack hesitated. It could be dangerous. Could be a trap. But his gut told him someone was in trouble. He dropped to his knees and slid into the crack. Inside, it was darker and warmer, the wind mostly blocked. The sound was clearer now, a soft, painful moan. Then he saw her. Curled up against the frozen wall was a figure. Not human. Her skin was pale blue and her body was thin, fragile-looking. She wore a torn suit with strange markings. Her long silver hair was stuck to her face with ice. Jack's eyes widened. "A Cerealian," he whispered. He had only seen them once from far away. The Cerealians were an old, advanced alien race, cold and distant. They avoided humans, never talked, never smiled. This one was young, a girl, maybe close to human age, and she was dying. Jack's training kicked in. He stepped forward slowly, raising his hands to show he meant no harm. Hey, it's okay," he said gently. The girl looked up. Her eyes were wide and glowing faintly purple. She didn't speak, but her lips trembled. Jack quickly removed the thermal blanket from his backpack. He knelt and wrapped it around her. She flinched at first, but then something happened. She stared at him, not in fear, but in shock. Jack noticed her skin began to glow slightly, soft blue light spreading from her chest. Then, slowly, carefully, she leaned forward and rested her head against his chest. Jack froze. He didn't know what it meant. Was she cold? Was it a sign of weakness, or was it something else? Her body trembled, but not from fear now. It felt like relief. He placed his arm around her shoulder gently. "I've got you," he whispered. "You're safe." Getting her back to the outpost was hard. She could barely walk, so Jack carried her most of the way. The snowstorm had grown stronger, and visibility was near zero. His suit's navigation system helped guide him back. By the time he reached the gate, the other engineers ran out to help. "What the hell is that?" one of them shouted. "She's a Cerealian," said another, shocked. Jack didn't care about their panic. "She's alive, barely. Help me get her inside." They rushed her into the med bay. The doctor scanned her quickly. Her body temperature is critical. Severe frostbite. Internal injuries. I've never treated one of her kind before. "Do your best," Jack said firmly. "She's not just some alien. She's someone." Hours passed. Jack waited outside the med bay, sipping a cup of hot water. He couldn't stop thinking about that moment, when she leaned against him. The soft glow, her eyes. What was that? The door hissed open. The doctor stepped out. "She'll leave," he said. "Barely," Jack sighed in relief. "She keeps asking for you," the doctor added. "Only you." Jack walked into the room quietly. The girl lay on the bed, weak but awake. Her eyes locked onto his the moment he entered. She said something in her own language. Jack didn't understand. She frowned, then tried again. "You... warm," she whispered in broken English. Jack blinked. Yes, the blanket. I gave it to you." Her eyes filled with light. She sat up slowly, still weak. Her hands reached out and gently touched his chest. "You gave warm to me." Jack smiled. A little. "Yeah, I couldn't just leave you there." She touched the blanket lying beside her, then looked back at him. "You are my protector." Jack tilted his head. "Protector?" She nodded slowly. "Life. Protector." He didn't understand what that meant. Was it a cultural thing? Some kind of alien tradition? "I'm Jack," he said softly, pointing to himself. She hesitated, then smiled. Just barely. Laurie," she said. Laurie," Jack repeated. Her smile grew a little. It was small, tired, but real. That was the first time Jack had ever seen a Cyralian smile. Later that night, the outpost commander called Jack into his office. We received no signals from Cyralian ships, no warnings, no patrols, nothing. So, why was one of their own left to die on this moon? Jack didn't know. She said her people abandoned her, called her defective. Defective? She feels emotions. That's what she told me. The commander frowned. That doesn't sound like the Cyralians we know. I think they fear emotion, Jack said. Maybe they suppress it, hide it. She couldn't, so the commander leaned back. You understand what this means, right? You gave her a blanket. Now she's bonded to you. Jack was quiet. He remembered her words. You are my protector. She needed help, Jack said finally. I gave it. You might have just made history, the commander said. Jack left the office feeling strange. He hadn't meant to change anything. He'd only wanted to keep someone from freezing to death, but deep down, he knew. Something was changing. In her room, Elari sat holding the blanket tightly. She stared at the door, waiting for Jack to return. She didn't understand everything about humans yet, but one thing was clear. Jack had shown her something no one from her world ever had. Kindness. And now, a fire had been lit inside her. A fire that the cold Cyralian Empire would never understand. Not yet, but soon they would. A soft humming filled the outpost room as Ayalari stood near a window, wrapped in the same blanket Jack had given her. Her silver hair flowed gently over her shoulders. Her violet eyes stared out into the snowy darkness of Thalos 7. But her mind was focused elsewhere. She was thinking about Jack, the human who gave her warmth when her own people left her to die. Jack entered the room with a small container in his hands. It had hot soup inside. Hey, he said, smiling gently. Thought you might like something warm. Elari turned to him. Her face lit up just a little. She still didn't smile like a human, but her eyes glowed faintly, a sign of emotion in her kind. You bring warm again, she said in her broken voice. Jack chuckled. It's soup. Chicken flavor. You eat it. Helps you feel better. He handed her the cup. She took it carefully as if it were something sacred. She sipped, then paused. Her eyes widened. This is good, Jack smiled. Glad you like it. Elari looked at him, confused. Why, do you give? Why help me? Jack sat on the edge of the bed and sighed. Because you were alone, hurt, cold. I couldn't just walk. Away. Alari tilted her head. But humans and Cyralians are not friends. Jack nodded. Not yet. But maybe we should be. She looked down, silent for a moment, then softly said, You are different. Over the next few days, Alari refused to leave Jack's side. She followed him around the outpost, watching how he fixed machines, spoke with other humans, and laughed. She didn't always understand, but she tried to copy his actions. She tried smiling. She even tried laughing, though it sounded more like a soft hiccup at first. Jack and the others began teaching her words, human words. She learned fast. Sometimes, she would just sit quietly, listening to music on Jack's tablet. The first time she heard a piano, she cried without knowing why. I don't understand, she said. Why? Does this sound make my chest tight? Jack smiled softly. That's emotion, Alari. That's what feeling alive is like. One evening, while Jack repaired a damaged generator, Alari sat nearby, watching. You fix broken things, she said. Jack nodded. That's my job. She looked down. Can you fix me? Jack stopped. He turned to her. You're not broken. She shook her head. My people said I was, that I feel too much, that I show weakness. You're not weak, Jack said firmly. You're brave. You survived and you care. She looked into his eyes. But Cyralians don't care. They don't feel. Jack leaned closer. Maybe they forgot how, but you didn't. Alari's hand slowly reached out and touched his. Her fingers were cold but gentle. You are still my life protector, she whispered. Jack didn't know what that really meant, but something deep inside told him it was important. The next morning, alarms rang through the outpost. Unknown ship in orbit, shouted the comm officer. Jack rushed to the control room. The screen showed a sleek silver Cyralian warship hovering just above the moon's surface. No weapons fired, no message sent, just silence. Are they here for her? The commander asked. Jack's stomach turned. Probably. The radio cracked. A deep, calm voice echoed through. Return the defective one. She carries something dangerous. Her presence must be erased. Jack's blood went cold. The commander looked at him. What do we do? Jack didn't hesitate. We don't give her up. They gathered in the meeting room. Alari sat quietly while everyone stared at her. She looked calm, too calm. They know I'm here, she said. They will come. Why do they want you dead? Jack asked. Alari hesitated. I carry old data. In my DNA, from our ancestors, lost long ago. It unlocked when you gave me warmth. The blanket. The feeling. Unlocked what? Jack asked, leaning forward. Emotions, Alari said. A piece of our true nature. Before we became cold. Everyone went silent. You mean your people weren't always like this? Jack asked. Alari shook her head. Long ago we felt. We cared. But then war came. Loss. Pain. So we removed feelings. Now they fear what I hold. What you helped wake up. The commander stood. So what do they plan to do? Destroy me. And anyone who protects me, Alari said calmly. That night, Jack couldn't sleep. He walked outside the dome, staring up at the stars. The warship was still there, silent like a predator. Alari appeared beside him, wrapped in the same blanket. Why don't you run? Jack asked. You could hide. They want you, not us. She looked at him, her eyes glowing faintly. I don't run from my protector. Jack smiled bitterly. I'm not a hero, Alari. You don't have to be. You only have to care. The next day, a drop pod crashed outside the outpost. 6 armored Ceralian hunters stepped out, their faces hidden, weapons glowing. The commander activated the defense systems, but Jack and Aolari stood in front of the gate. Jack raised his voice. "She's not a threat. She wants peace." The lead hunter spoke coldly. "Her infection must be burned. Stand aside, human." Aolari stepped forward. "I will go." Jack turned to her. "What? No." "I will go," she said again. "But not to die, to show them what you showed me." Then she reached out and took Jack's hand, and again her body began to glow, but this time it was brighter, stronger. The Ceralian hunters paused. One lowered his weapon. "What? Is that light?" he asked. Aolari looked at them. "This is the heart link, the bond made by true warmth. It was thought lost, but it lives. In him." She pointed to Jack. "He gave it without wanting power, without expecting reward, just to help." One of the hunters dropped to his knees. He touched his chest as if feeling something for the first time. "I feel heat," he whispered. Another. One looked around in panic. "This is dangerous! Emotion is poison!" But their leader did not attack. He stared at Jack. "You caused this?" Jack took a breath. "I only gave her a blanket." The leader stepped back. "We will report this," he said. "To the council, they must decide." Then the hunters returned to their pod, and left. As silence returned, Jack turned to Aolari. "You okay?" She nodded. "You didn't fight them," he said. "I didn't need to," she replied. "You already gave me the strongest weapon." Jack blinked. "What's that?" She smiled, this time a real smile. Hope. For the first time in many days, the skies above Thalos 7 were quiet. The Ceralian warship was gone. The attack team had returned without a fight. The outpost felt safe. For now. But Jack Carter knew this peace wouldn't last. Inside the outpost's main room, the lights were dim. Aolari sat cross-legged on a small mat, eyes closed, breathing slow. She wasn't meditating. She was listening, feeling. Her glowing body pulsed softly with blue light. Jack watched from a distance, holding a mug of warm tea. "She's not the same as before," said the outpost commander, standing beside him. "No, she's not," Jack replied. "She's growing." The commander looked concerned. "That scares me," Jack sighed. "It should scare the people who abandoned her, not us." Later that day, Jack sat with Aolari in the engineering bay. She liked it there. Machines were easy to understand, she once told him. People were harder. She pointed to a power unit. "This is broken?" Jack nodded. "Yeah, needs a new capacitor." "I can fix it," Aolari said. Jack raised an eyebrow. "You can?" She smiled softly. "You fix machines." "I learned." She moved her hands carefully, copying Jack's past repairs. She worked slowly but surely, and when she finished, the unit hummed back to life. Jack clapped. "Not bad," Aolari beamed. "You taught me." Jack looked at her, wondering how far. She'd come in such a short time. She was learning to laugh, to fix things, to feel. It was beautiful and dangerous. That night, the outpost picked up a message, a warning. A Ceralian high-order ship was approaching. Much larger than before. This time, they weren't just sending hunters. They were sending judgment. "We must evacuate," said the commander during a quick emergency meeting. "There's no time," said the comm officer. "The ship will be in orbit in 2 hours." Jack stood up. "We can't run. They'll track us." "They want the girl," another officer said. "If we give her up—" "No," Jack snapped. "We're not doing that." The room went quiet. Jack turned to Aolari, who stood near the back, silent. "They called you dangerous," he said gently. "But you're not." "I am," she whispered. "To them." She walked to the center of the room. My DNA holds codes from our ancient past. Before emotion was removed, it was hidden, locked away. But when you gave me the blanket, the warmth unlocked it. She looked at Jack with soft eyes. I didn't know what it was until I felt your kindness. She faced the others. My people fear these feelings. They fear change, but this change is truth, our truth. Someone in the room asked, what will they do to you if they take you? Alari didn't answer. She didn't need to. Jack stepped beside her. We're not letting that happen. The Ceralian ship arrived, larger than any vessel they'd seen, shaped like a blade of ice, glowing with cold light. This time, it spoke with the voice of the council elder. Return the one called Alari. She is property of the state. Her mind is infected. Her body must be purified. Jack stood before the comms unit. She's not property. She's a person. You are not Ceralian. You do not understand. What she carries is poison to our people. She must be erased. She carries hope, Jack said. You've forgotten how to feel. But she hasn't. There was a pause. Then you stand with the infected? I stand with my friend. The Ceralians didn't wait. Drop pods launched from the warship, 30 soldiers this time. The outpost prepared for a fight, but they knew they were outnumbered. As the pods came down like falling stars, Alari turned to Jack. I must face them. Jack grabbed her shoulder. No, it's suicide. She touched his hand gently. You gave me warmth. I give you trust. He didn't want to let her go. But something in her eyes said she was ready, not for war, but for truth. The drop pods crashed. Near the outpost, the ground shook. Snow flew. Armored Ceralians stepped out, weapons drawn, but they didn't fire. They saw Alari standing alone in the snow, wrapped in a worn-out blanket. The same one Jack gave her. She raised her hands, not to fight, but to offer peace. I do. Not fear you, she said, her voice echoing through the translator. You should, said the lead warrior. I feared being alone, she replied. Not anymore. They circled her, but suddenly her body glowed bright. Blue and gold light poured from her skin. She wasn't just glowing, she was shining. The Ceralians paused, weapons lowering. What is this? One of them asked. She raised a hand. This is the heart link, a connection made through real feeling, through kindness, through truth. It woke in me when a human gave me something simple and powerful. She held up the blanket. A gift, a choice, a moment. Some soldiers dropped their weapons. Others trembled. One stepped forward and touched his chest. I feel something. A memory? A warmth? The leader growled. You are infected. No, Alari said. I am free. Back inside the outpost, Jack watched everything on the screen. He couldn't hear all the words, but he saw the reactions. Some Ceralians stepped back, some cried, and some knelt. The commander looked at Jack. Whatever you did, it's spreading. Jack smiled faintly. I just gave her a blanket. The Ceralian council spoke again. This time their voice was angry. You have opened a path we closed long ago. This cannot continue, Alari replied. No path can stay closed forever. The heart remembers. The soul wants to feel. The council gave their final command. You will be erased. Now. The warship charged its main cannon. A massive beam began. To form in the clouds above, Jack ran outside. He stood beside Alari. If you're going down, he said, I'm going with you. She looked at him and smiled. Thank you. The cannon fired. A beam of white light burst toward the ground, but before it hit, Alari stepped forward, her body glowing brighter than ever. She lifted her hands. The light met her, but it didn't. Destroy her! It bent around her, then broke. The energy exploded into the air and vanished. Silence followed. The warship powered down and retreated. Hours later, the outpost was calm again. No ships, no soldiers, just snow and stars. Jack and Larry sat near a heater sharing warm tea. You stopped a war, Jack said. No, Larry said. You did. The moment you gave me this. She held the blanket tightly in her hands. Jack smiled. It was just a blanket. To you. But to me, it was the first time I felt safe. She looked into his eyes. You changed me, Jack. He nodded. You changed us all, Larry. The stars above Thalos 7 shone brighter than usual. The Cyralian warship had left without another word. No attacks, no messages, just silence. A strange peace now floated in the air. Inside the outpost, people were still in shock. How did she stop a warship's main cannon? One engineer whispered. She didn't block it, another said. She changed its path. Only Jack Carter wasn't surprised anymore. He had seen it happen with his own eyes, and it all started with a blanket. Larry sat quietly in the outpost's greenhouse. The warm lights helped her relax. Small green plants swayed gently under. The glass dome. It reminded her of something she never had. Peace. Jack walked in and sat beside her. Everyone's talking about you, he said softly. You're famous now. She didn't speak right away. Her violet eyes watched the plants. I didn't want this, she whispered. I only wanted to live, to feel, to be free. Jack nodded. And you are. You're free now. Larry looked at him. No, I'm still changing. I feel new things every hour. Joy, fear, confusion, hope. I don't know how to control them. Jack smiled kindly. No one really does. That's part of being human, too. She tilted her head. Is it hard to live like this? He chuckled. Sometimes. But it's worth it. Larry looked down at the blanket folded in her lap. This gift. This warmth. It opened something inside me. Jack leaned forward. You called it Heartlink. She nodded slowly. Yes. It's a connection, a powerful one. It links two souls. Not with pain, but with feeling. It used to be part of our ancient way, but we erased it, long ago. She looked up at him. But you brought it back. You didn't even know. The next day, something unexpected happened. A small Cyralian scout ship landed near the outpost. No weapons, no soldiers, only one passenger, a Cyralian female elder dressed in silver robes. Her eyes were sharp, but not angry. I am Arethel, she said calmly. I was once a keeper of the Heartlink, before our history was rewritten. The commander of the outpost, and Jack greeted her with caution. Why are you here? Jack asked. Arethel looked at Larry, who stood silently near the gate. I came because word has spread, across the stars, that a human rekindled what we lost. Jack blinked. It was just a blanket. No, the elder said. It was a bond. They took Arethel inside. She asked for privacy to speak with Larry. In a quiet room, the elder studied her carefully. You carry the old light, she said, the emotion we feared. I didn't ask for it, Larry replied, but you carry it well. The elder reached out and gently touched her forehead. A glow passed between them. I see your memories, the elder whispered. You suffered. You were cast out, but you were also loved. Larry's voice shook. I don't understand. Why does it hurt sometimes? Because you care, the elder said, and caring means both joy and sorrow. Larry lowered her eyes. I'm afraid. That means you're alive, the elder smiled. Outside the room, Jack waited anxiously. When Larry stepped out, he stood. How was it? He asked. She wants to help. Alari replied. She remembers the old ways. She says the heart link can grow. If I teach others. Jack raised an eyebrow. Teach Cerealians emotions? Yes. Jack grinned. Now that's a mission. Over the next week, small Cerealian groups arrived secretly. They came in ones and twos, wearing cloaks, hiding their faces. Some were young, some were old. But all had one thing in common. They wanted to feel. Elari began sharing stories, small moments, the blanket, the music Jack played, the way T felt on a cold day, laughter, kindness, tears. At first, the Cerealians didn't understand. But slowly, things changed. A young male Cerealian cried for the first time while listening to a human lullaby. An older one laughed, watching a simple joke. One of them hugged Elari and began to glow. The heart link was spreading. But not everyone was happy. Message came from the Cerealian inner circle. This corruption must stop. We will send enforcers. The outpost braced for another attack. Jack spoke to Elari the night before. Are you scared? He asked. She nodded. Yes, but I'm not alone. She reached out and held his hand. I have you, and now I have them. Jack smiled. Then let them come. The enforcers arrived in black ships, silent, deadly. They didn't speak. They landed in a circle around the outpost and surrounded it. A voice called out through a speaker, surrender the infected, or be destroyed. Alari stepped forward. Jack grabbed her shoulder. You don't have to go. She looked at him with steady eyes. Yes, I do. They need to see. With their own eyes. She walked out into the snow, alone, or so it seemed. Moments later, Jack walked out behind her, then the commander, then all the humans, then the Cerealians who had come to learn. One by one, they stood beside her, a wall of peace. No weapons, only hearts. The leader of the enforcers stepped out of his ship. His eyes were cold, empty. You defy the council? Elari raised her voice. I offer truth, not war. You spread poison. No, I spread feeling. She reached out her hand toward him. I offer you warmth. The enforcer laughed bitterly. You think a blanket can save you? Elari didn't flinch. It already did. Then something no one expected happened. The enforcer stepped forward and took her hand. For a moment, nothing happened. Then his armor glowed. His body began to shine with light. His knees buckled. He fell forward and he cried. I remember, he whispered. I remember my mother's song. Before they took it from me. Elari held him gently. The others watched in silence. The strongest warrior had broken. Not from pain, but from a memory. After that day, the enforcers left. No shots were fired, no lives lost. The word spread across the stars, the Heartlink lives. A new movement began, not just among Cerealians, but other cold species who had forgotten what emotion was. And it all traced back to one moment, one small act, one gift. Jack and Elari stood on the same ridge where he had found her long ago. She held the blanket in her hands. You saved me, she said. Jack shook his head. No, you saved yourself. She turned to him, eyes glowing softly. I was alone, dying, cold. Then you gave me this. She wrapped the blanket around his shoulders. Now, I give it back, not because I don't need it, but because I want you to feel what I felt. Jack chuckled. It's still a little itchy. Elari laughed, a real, warm laugh. I like itchy, she said. They both looked at the stars above. Different people, different worlds, one bond. The message had spread across the stars like fire in dry grass. An alien girl named Elari, once left to die on a frozen moon, had survived. Not because of weapons or power, but because a human gave her a blanket. That simple act had changed her, and now it was changing the galaxy. Ilari stood beside Jack, holding his hand. They were back at the human outpost where it all began. Snow gently fell around them. The wind was cold, but Ilari didn't shiver anymore. She wasn't the scared alien girl hiding in the ice anymore. She was glowing, not just in her skin, but in her spirit. Jack looked at her with quiet pride. He had seen her journey. He had walked beside her as she learned to feel, to smile, to trust. She squeezed his hand. "They're coming," Jack nodded. "Let's welcome them." Above, 3 Ceralian ships broke through the clouds. They were elegant, silver, and shaped like flowing blades. But this time, they didn't come for war. They came to talk. The Ceralian leaders stepped onto the landing pad. Their faces were calm, cold, and unreadable. But their eyes searched for Ilari. Jack stood protectively near her, but Ilari stepped forward. She was not afraid. "I'm not broken," she said clearly. One of the Ceralians, a tall woman with golden markings on her face, looked closely. "You shine with the light of the old ways," she said, "but you speak like a human." "I speak like myself," Ilari said. "I am Ceralian, but I also feel. I choose to feel." The golden-marked leader tilted her head. "Why?" Ilari looked back at Jack. Then she turned to the others. "Because he gave me a blanket," she said. The leaders blinked in confusion. "A blanket?" one asked. "Yes. Not because he wanted something. Not because I was useful. But because I was cold." She took a slow breath. That act woke something inside me, and I learned that feelings are not weakness. They are strength. They connect us, make us real. The Ceralian leaders listened. For a moment, silence filled the air. Then one leader stepped forward. "Prove it," he said. Ilari didn't hesitate. She walked up to him, gently touched his hand, and activated the heart link. A soft glow passed between them. His eyes widened. His body trembled. He felt warmth, a memory, a long-lost moment from his childhood, his mother humming a lullaby before she disappeared. His cold heart cracked open. The glow faded. He stumbled back, tears in his eyes. "I remember," he whispered. The other Ceralians looked at Ilari with wonder. They had heard of the heart link in old stories. None thought it was real. One by one, more came forward. Some were curious, some were afraid. But Ilari stood tall. With each heart link, more minds opened. Some wept. Some smiled for the first time in years, and Jack watched it all, amazed. Later that night, the outpost was quiet. The Ceralians had set up camp near the humans. For the first time, the 2 species sat together, shared food, even laughed. Jack and Ilari sat near a fire. She leaned against his shoulder. "You changed everything?" she said softly. He chuckled. "I just gave you a blanket." She smiled. That blanket carried more than warmth. It carried kindness, hope, a new beginning. Jack looked into the fire. "I never thought something so small could mean so much." "Sometimes," Ilari said, "small things are the seeds of big change." The next morning, a new plan began. Together, the humans and Ceralians announced the Unity Program, a place where both species could learn from each other, feelings and logic, strength and softness, machines and hearts. It was built on the same moon where Jack had found Ilari. They called it the Hearth, the place of warmth. It started with 10 students, then 50, then hundreds. Aliens and humans studied music, languages, emotions, science, and peace. Ilari became the first heart guide, someone who could teach others how to feel safely. And Jack, he became the head engineer of the new academy. But more than that, he became a symbol of kindness. 1 year later, Jack walked through the halls of the hearth. Students buzzed around him, laughing, debating, learning. He entered the memorial room, a quiet space filled with small objects. There, in the center, under a soft light, lay the blanket, folded neatly. Clean, simple. A sign read, "The blanket that changed a galaxy. One act, one heart, one hope." Jack smiled. "Still can't believe it," he whispered. Behind him, Elari entered the room. "We're expecting new visitors from the Varnex system," she said. "They heard about us. They want to learn too." Jack nodded. "Let's make room." She took his hand. "Together?" "Always," he said. Outside, the stars shimmered. Ships arrived from faraway worlds, bringing creatures of all kinds, and in the cold moonlight, a new warmth spread, not from fire or machines, but from hearts choosing to care, all because one human saw a shivering alien girl and gave her a blanket.